And done it.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning, everybody. So sorry about that. We are off to the races now. So good morning. My name is Alan Rich. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I am the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we are your host, and we sure appreciate you guys joining us today. So this is our weekly edition of the Real Estate Backstory. We are a couple minutes late, so I hope they haven't left you waiting. So, but
Too bad.
Well, we're not like that. So anyway, we're just going to kind of get started, and we kind of want to start talking about. We're starting to hear kind of some chit chat about.
Whisper out there.
Hey, is this
Are we in a bubble? Are we getting ready to pop?
Well, here's the bottom line. It's not a bubble if it doesn't pop. And we're not looking at any signs of the market popping right now. I do think that we're going to be moving into much more moderate times.
Absolutely.
But for the folks that are out there, like, I'm just waiting on the market to crash. I hate to break it to you. That really does not look like it's coming anytime soon. We don't see any signs of that working its way out here right now.
Not at a current trend, because with the interest rate as low as it is right now, and as well as the demand for purchase, it's not going to happen unless the interest rate goes crazy.
Well, and we just don't see that happening either. Matter of fact, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But one thing that we kind of wanted to kind of jump into here is 2021 going to be our first $2 trillion year. It looks like this will be the first time that the U.S. real estate market has ever had over $2 trillion in real estate transactions in one calendar year. And so that's a really pretty big deal. We've been averaging between 600 and 700 million dollars a quarter. So we really are looking at hitting our first ever. Now, some of this is fueled because we have higher prices. Mm-hmm. Transaction wise are up a little bit, but not up huge. But the dollar amounts, those are up pretty big. When they released this, they also, shared with us, what's happening in the different zip code ratios here. And I just found this very, very interesting is that, if you were in a high price zip code prior to COVID, the higher the price of the zip code, the more the increase in property values and more list prices have increased. Whereas our lower price zip codes were actually much more moderating, and our mid-price zip codes really was probably the most flat of all the markets out there total. So even though we are seeing much higher price increases, or higher prices rather, I'm glad to see that the lower price zip codes and the middle of the road zip codes were not increasing at the same rate that the higher price zip codes were. Because one concern we have right now is we need more first-time buyers in our marketplace. Our first-time market buyer share has been declining, and so we feel that's a pretty big deal. If you've been out showing properties, you gotta watch out, because if you feel like somebody's watching you,
the big brother,
chances are they really are right now, kind of thing. So, like go on to Amazon and do a quick search for hidden spy cameras, and you're going to see things that go from like USB wall chargers, smoke detectors, digital alarm clocks. Now, legally speaking, generally speaking, it's legal to have hidden cameras and recording surveillance devices in your own home. Now, I don't know of any of our sellers that have done this, thankfully, but we did have an issue where we had one of our agents was out looking at a property, and they clearly found what was a hidden camera on a bookshelf, kind of thing. And so what we really want to talk about here is like this is nothing that from most people we're going to be able to manage, right? Because even in most of the time, our sellers are not just going to tell us. So you have to act, and you have to understand that you're on camera and somebody's listening to you basically all the time on your showings.
Basically treat the house all equal, rather than just, thinking one may have it, one may not. Just tell your client, buyer consultation, you're probably 9 out of 10 going to be walking into a property with a hidden camera. And
it could be there, and not that that's really a big deal for a lot of folks, but what we find is we've had we've had sellers that have called our agents and said, hey, the folks just showed our house and they stood on the front porch and they said, we love this house. We'll pay whatever, we'll go 25,000 over asking. And the realtor was like, no, I think that's too much. And they're like, we don't want to lose this house, go 25,000 over asking. And so, the sellers are telling the agent, hey, make sure we get at least 25,000 over asking price on this property, or, that kind of thing. So,
and not only that, sometimes, out of conversation, a buyer and seller may make a statement that may be a fair housing issue. So not only that, just because of decor or what have you. So please tell your client, don't make any derogatory or any comment that can be seen as a violation.
Yep. All right. And then it turns out our millennials are kind of blaming the boomers for our starter home shortage. And is there a little bit of truth to that? Only from the point of view of, we have two different buyer groups going after the same property type kind of thing. So we see a lot of boomers that are looking to downsize their lives, and they're looking at starter size homes. And then we have millennials looking to move up, and the boomers have more assets to be able to pour into it kind of thing. Right. So, but this is not really the boomer, like, okay, boomer, that's kind of that term we hear thrown around there. The millennials, where their state is right now, about half of our millennials are saving for a down payment. 55% say that they can't afford the down payment yet. 12% of our millennials have abandoned their home search. And that worries me, because that means that they're going to be renting more. And we're seeing,
and honestly, renting is expensive.
Yeah. So, 13% of our millennials are considering, want to be near family. The bad side is that 8% of millennials are trying to get away from family. So that's not really that great of a thing. But, the bottom line is that this is not something that the boomers caused by any means. We've had a housing shortage. And on top of that, we've been building these large
homes,
boxes kind of thing. We're not building a lot of starter style homes. Ranches are really are rare finds anymore, that kind of thing. So, it's not just a blame it on the boomers thing, because that's just a really easy scapegoat there. At the same time, we are seeing inflation here. And so, normally, generally speaking, inflation, home ownership is a hedge against inflation, because once you have that mortgage, that your rents are not fluctuating up and down, whereas we're looking at rents going just crazy and continuing to move up. But on the other side of there, when we see inflation is going to drive interest rates up kind of thing. And so when that happens, that's going to hurt our buyers' buying power. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So, the thing is that with inflation coming, we know that this makes this a better time to jump in for our buyers right now than any other time. Freddie Mac came out and said, that, the rates are like 3.11, which we'll cover in a minute. But, today's buyer of a median price home is going to spend about $160 a month more on their mortgage payment as rates increase. And so where we're looking to be, that's going to be a really big deal here. And so it needs to be done sooner rather than later. Because, this week we actually went up a little bit. It was 3.10. Now it's 3.11. Omicron, and I can't say it right for some reason, the new variant, it's variant of the day. So, but that shook the stock markets, and when the stock markets get shaken up, a lot of people move money into treasuries and bonds, which is where where mortgages are, and so that can tend to keep rates low normally. Right. Also, the Fed chair was in front of Congress kind of thing. And he's got more concerns. The Fed is finally feeling like inflation may not be transitory, that it may actually be here with us for a while. And so they're looking to be a little bit more aggressive on tapering off their bond purchases. So
that got us concerned, because anytime the Fed decides to taper off, that means an increase in interest rate.
Now, if you look at here, the 30-year fixed is 3.11, 30-year conventional kind of thing. And you can see what the different rates are, but that doesn't always equate into what's real reality. And so whoops, helps if you use the right screen. Now we're going to try this one again. So this is what the rates are
versus
reality. So we saw that it was a 3.11. However, the average rate for conforming mortgages, which means conventional loans, was actually a 3.31. So as of last week, the average conventional mortgage was 3.31. The average jumbo was 3.27, which is really good because, traditionally we see the jumbo sitting a little bit higher. The average FHA was a 3.42. A lot of times when you'll look at the stated interest rates for FHA loans, it'll show lower than conventional. However, at the end of the day, we see where the actual FHA rates end up being traditionally, because FHA is highly based on risk. So the lower their interest, their credit score, the higher that they're going to pay.
So even though the rates are what they are, the average is based on the average of folks that we apply for those loans and what their credit ability and risk assessment is. So if even those 3.11, as you can see right now, conventional running 3.24, meaning there's some risk in conventional loan, the average, as well as FHA right now is 3.42.
Yeah, but I had some agents say, you guys are quoting 3.1, 3.11, and I'm not seeing my clients actually getting those rates.
And that's because there's different multiple factors. Credit is one of them, and the other is down payment. And as well as, if there was any, well, it's a lender policy. I mean, just remember, Fannie and Freddie Mac put down a blanket statements loan product. And it's up to individual lender, right? It's up to individual lender in their policy what they cannot do and what they would charge and not charge.
Yeah. Speaking of Fannie and Freddie, they have announced the new conforming loan limits for 2022. Here in Georgia, the new conforming loan limits is $647,000, 200. And that is a really steep increase. I mean, I can remember it wasn't very long ago. It was 4, then it was 480. Now it's almost $650,000 for a conforming conventional mortgage kind of thing. So, it is, that's an interesting turn of events kind of thing. There's been some talk about it, but
and I think partially that's because the increase in home value. I mean, if you look
houses
at
cost more.
Houses cost more now.
Exactly. At the same time, VA came out and they released new fees for VA appraisal. VA appraisals have always been price-wise much more considered much more price.
Well, positive. Conservative, I guess.
That's a good way. And so I don't mean the appraisals themselves. I mean the actual cost to the borrower. So until December 1, I believe, all VA appraisals are $450. Starting on December 1st, all VA appraisals move up to $650, which is based on a percentage. It's almost a 500% increase or a 50% increase.
Yeah, it was okay. It's around about 40 some odd.
Yeah.
But anyways, just want to give you an update. Right now, the VA, not just the VA, but FHA and conventional loan appraisal used to run about $450. Anymore now, we're seeing upward from $800 to $1,000. So
if you got a rush, just go ahead and just be ready to give it out there. Okay.
So you make sure you let your buyer know that is something they need to save money for, because it's increased substantially.
Yeah, and not just VA is going to 650, but like Ming said, we're seeing 800, sometimes $1,000.
And that's not even a rush.
Yep. Now, this is one thing that we find concerning, is that mortgage lending has dropped sharply in the third quarter. And this is the number of loans being done. Now, of that, the biggest drop for sure is refis. Refis are dropping. As interest rates rise up, they're going to drop as well. But, one thing I don't want when it says mortgage lending drops sharply, I bring this up because that's what you'll see in the news. Okay. And so understand
refi is not repurchase.
That isn't. The other side of that is, yes, purchase applications are down 2% for the quarter. However, they're up 17% over last year. Okay. 17. I mean, we're not talking about a little bit, 17% over prior year. That's a really significant number right there.
Mhm.
So don't let the, this will get picked up by the
Don't let the
media and
news
that kind of
media
stuff.
sway
Yeah.
you to where, oh, hey, the mortgage down, so therefore there's
Yeah.
not as much buyers. And in
There's still a lot of
reality,
activity
there's a
going on
lot
out
of
there.
buyer. It
Absolutely.
just is down in the side of refi.
So Realtor.com released their housing forecasts for 2022. It's that time of year when all these things, kind of things came out. We talked about Redfins a couple of weeks ago. So overall, they're looking at existing home sales price increase of about 3%. And we think that we're going to start seeing that. We've seen double digit throughout all this year, but I'm telling you, the interest rates are going to rise up. When interest rates rise, that's going to hurt buying power. We're going to see some people that aren't going to be able to be in the market, and it's going to affect pricing. So overall, existing home sales are looking at the dollar amount of sales increasing by about 6%. New home inventory increasing slightly. Mortgage rates, they think it's going to average 3.3 with 3.6 by the end of the year. I'm hopeful that that's where we're at. I think it's very likely that we could be
a little higher,
hovering close to 4. Yeah.
Due to inflation.
Yeah. And then, single new construction starts up about 5%, and then a home ownership rate, which is slightly up. Now, some other things that came out from their study and from what they're looking at, and that first of all is that suburbs are still a very, very popular place to be. I'll show you a slide on that. One thing that is going to continue driving the housing market is that millennials are ready to make moves. There's currently 45 million millennials in that home buyer sweet spot, which means that they make enough money, they've saved enough, they paid off their their student loans, and they have now reached that 33, 34 age, because 34 is the average age of our first time home buyer right now. Millennials make up the largest percentage of our population, and they are in the sweet spot to buy right now. And that's 45 million. That's a pretty significant chunk of our population. Affordability, however, is going to be the challenge for next year moving forward, right? I think that we are going to be in the 3 to 4% price increase range, which is not going to be that. However, rents are going to outpace home purchases by 7%. So that means if property values are going up by 5% and rents increase 7%, that means it's going to be 12% increases in rent out there. We know interest rates are going to be rising. So, that's kind of what they're looking at. Overall, they really do believe that this is kind of the synopsis here. Home prices are going to stay high, but growth is going to slow. And I think that's true. Not many more homes are going to be coming up for sale. We're just not seeing a huge uptick in inventory. And I think that I think we'll get more homes as the number of buyers cuts down when we see interest rates rise. I do think interest rates are going to go up. Like we said, we talked about that one. Rents are going to keep going up, like we said, and it's going to be a tough time for first time buyers. I think we've got to know that that's going on, and we got to be prepared for that. Overall, in the Atlanta market, they're looking at a growth rate of around 3.5% with a 10% sales growth. We'll see if it's in there. I don't think we'll hit 10% next year on there. I think we're going to be closer in that 4% range. So we have a lot of costs. We've been talking about first time buyers and millennials moving in the home market, but a lot of times agents are not spending as much time explaining what are some of these costs that our buyers are going to have to really share with their clients. So, a lot of our buyer clients don't understand. We need to make sure that we're explaining to this on, when we have a buyer consultation, when we meet them beforehand, how much is it going to cost for a home inspection? What do appraisals cost? We just talked about the rise and the cost of the appraisals. How about homeowners insurance and shopping that? Just getting your credit report. They want to be able to pull their credit and check their credit report. Now, a lot of the mortgage companies will do that for you as well. And then unless they've got at least 20% to put down, they're going to have to pay for some kind of MI or PMI mortgage insurance on top of their property taxes, All,
And just so you know, some counties have both city and county. So be careful where you are locating
Yeah.
because they can get double whammy on that one there.
yeah, the lump sum of closing costs makes up a lot of things. So attorney's fees, recording fees, settlement fees, that kind of stuff. But the biggie there is title insurance. But there are
Do not do without title insurance, y'all.
well, that, and there's multiple types of title insurance. And that's why we're big proponents of using professional real estate attorneys. They do a much better job, but we need to prepare our clients for this too.
Yeah, the title insurance, most your closing attorneys are using the premium title insurance versus a
Which we
standard.
recommend.
Yeah, and versus a standard, because standard has some defects in it. And for another, maybe less than $100, you get the
It's
protection.
the cheapest insurance you're
Right.
gonna ever have. So surveys, you don't have to have a survey to buy and sell property in Georgia. A lot of times when folks buy land, they expect that there's a survey there, but there's not. In a lot of cases, there
necessarily
isn't,
so.
right? You know, then
And the problem with that is that if you have a large acreage, your survey just became thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so on the average survey on a subdivision lot less than an acre, you're looking at about 550 to 600 minimum. So if you have a tract of land that is 8, 9, 10, or even bigger, expect a much larger bill for that survey.
Yep. Moving expenses, renovations, and then for our renters, like, it's funny, we've had folks buy houses and they're like, you have to pay for water. Yeah, you gotta pay for water.
And
Where do I get a garbage can? Like, oh, it just doesn't come with the house. No, it doesn't come with the house. So we need to make sure that we're explaining this with our clients.
A lot of times these are renter that now is become homeowners. So when you live in an apartment, trash and water sometimes are included. So, and this is why you need to have that conversation.
We're seeing a real decline in the number of escalation clauses. Now, this is both nationally and even here locally. I don't want it to seem like there aren't happening. What we see is on those really hot properties, we're still seeing some escalation clauses. But overall, based on the percentage, gosh, what would you say we're down? Ming seems more transactions
It's
than anybody
okay.
on the planet.
I see less escalation clause because the agents are getting really good communicating with the listing agent and say, listen, what do we need to do to win this offer? You know, and sometimes depending on how busy that listing agent is, if it's a really hot piece of property where they're getting anywhere from 20 plus offers, I can tell you the listing agent's busy. So it's harder to gauge from that point of view and getting a true number out of listing agent.
The other challenge with escalation clauses, if I'm just like Joe homeowner, escalation clauses, it's a lot of legalese because the way that they're written, some of them are like half a page long, and I'm not saying that we don't need to have details in there, but as an average seller, you see an escalation clause and you're like, what the heck is that? I mean, they're beefy paragraphs with a lot of
5 or 6
here to's
sentences.
and therefores and whatever, that kind of stuff.
So you want to make it to where it's clearly understandable, as well as let them know that you are very motivated. Your client is very motivated buyer. So appraisal gap is actually one of the preferred.
We're seeing, but we're seeing less of both of them now, which is another sign of the market monitoring.
So you talked about baby boomer earlier, right? So baby boomer typically has the money, so they're the one that is affording the appraisal gap, while the millennial are unable to do that because it's taken them all this time to save up what they have.
All right, guess what's up? Yeah, that double wide with a redwood deck. So, in the past, mobile homes, modular homes, they were the brunt of real estate jokes, and no one really looked at them. And all of a sudden, folks are like, gosh, here's a mobile home on 3 acres, kind of out away from everybody. And the overall purchase price is less than what a lot of other homes. They tend to be a little bit more rural. We've seen a trend moving where we're seeing more folks still even today moving away from, suburban's rising faster than urban is, kind of thing. And however, at the same time, property values for mobile homes have increased nearly 40% in the last 5 years. So, don't I guess what I'm saying here is don't just poo-poo a mobile or a modular home
I
anymore.
will tell you that if a modular home was built prior to 1987, you may have a hard time getting a loan. Talk to your lender because
Yeah.
there's an age restriction on that.
Well, also make sure that the mobile home is real property and not just a
Personal.
person, not just a bill of sale item kind of
Right.
thing. That matters. You're not gonna get a
And,
mortgage
well, the
on a
difference,
trailer with wheels, right?
the difference is between a real property versus a personal property is that a mobile home, if it's got a foundation that's not moving, is considered a property
Yep.
that go with a house. But if it has a wheel, then it's a bill of sale. So that's the
Yeah.
difference.
All right. We're seeing more climate events that are impacting property insurance. Now, the one state that has the most natural disasters, which I was actually surprised about, is actually Texas, even though so many people are
You
moving
look
there.
at Texas, had the
Like,
snowstorm and then the flooding. I mean, it has been hit
they get
really
their share of
hard.
hurricanes, the whole 9 yards. Here in Georgia, and in the last year, we've had 1,535
Claims, I think.
natural disaster issues here in Georgia. So we're somewhere right around the middle of there, and we're just seeing more and more. Expect that what they're saying is that the states that have more climate events are going to be seeing higher property, higher insurance rates, kind of thing. So our suburbs are remaining popular. For a while it was like the cities are emptying out, and then the cities kind of staged a comeback. But no matter what, we're still seeing. So this graph here shows. So you can see that the red is the suburban areas, and the yellow is the urban areas, kind of thing. And this is what's happening with listing values. You can see that overall, urban areas are still tapering down. Suburban areas are still trending up. So a couple of things. One is, if in the past you were like, gosh, I don't want to be near the city because it's more expensive, it's not really the case right now. Is there an opportunity for some of our clients to be going more in town than out of town? One thing that we're seeing with affordability is going to be a big, 2022, we feel is going to be the year where affordability is a challenge. So how do we help our clients that are affordability challenged? And so, is there a better option inside the city perimeters, ITP, that kind of thing? Is there some options for modular homes and mobile homes that we talked about before? I think we've got to be very aware of what's going on in our markets, and be very acute with like, here's some options for you. We'd all like to have, I need $200,000 in Sandy Springs. Well, yeah, that's great, but that's not there. That's a unicorn. It's not going to happen.
The urban area too, with the, we have multiple variants of COVID. There's still some, legitimate fears.
Yeah.
Being that close to people. So
single family renting is here to stay. This is the number of US single family homes and the neighborhoods simply being built to rent, and it is going through the roof. We're going to see more and more of this, and we're going to see more and more of this mainly because it, like wealth in the United States is tied up in home ownership. Absolutely. It really, really is. Now, if you are an investor and you want to grow wealth, and that for the average American, a lot of your wealth is tied up in your home and your property appreciation. So the reason we're seeing so many new neighborhoods built for rent only is, they're trying to take that wealth from renters. And it hurts my heart because I see where folks are like, well, this crazy market, I'm just going to rent. Rent is going to continue to hurt. Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt long term. You can't build wealth.
You can't build wealth. You're basically taking your disposable income anywhere from average of 200 is really conservative, up to thousands of dollars, to where you couldn't save because you have to rent.
Yeah. I know that the whole rich dad, poor dad mentality is that a home is just an expense, but for the average Americans that are not using their money that way, yeah, can you go and take that money that you would have put there and use it for an investment? You can, but for the 98% of Americans, the wealth is tied up into their home, and so we're going to see this going. I feel like these rental neighborhoods are a bigger challenge to housing than Zillow and the iBuyers ever were out there, kind of thing, because this hurts average Americans long term. Like if you rent now, I mean, well, let me just go here. If you bought a home a year ago, how much equity do you have in a year?
Right now, the average is about
30 to
20 to about 50,
yeah,
or even
depending on the purchase
more
price, you've made
on
some real
location.
equity in just a year. If you rented a year ago, how much equity you have? You got a big fat goose egg. And now you do that for the next 20 years. What are you retiring with? Nothing. So, if we really care about our communities, then this is our big battle here. So I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry about that. On the commercial side of things, for the first time in 4 years, we have more store openings than we have closures.
Yay.
That's a really good sign. That shows what's happening in the economy. This is not just driven by holiday shopping, that kind of stuff. Overall, retailers opened 4,361 more brick and mortar stores in 2021 than they closed. It's a pretty significant number. It's nationwide.
Huge. And this is the reason why labors are so low right now.
You're exactly right. Labor continues to be a big deal, which nice segue, Ming. Remote workers are feeling virtual fatigue. And so if you've even been doing a lot of your real estate activities from home, that kind of stuff, JLL, they're a huge commercial contractor. They've done a lot of studies and found that 46% of folks are missing human interaction. Another 40% don't have any more clear and professional boundaries.
And I will tell you, any business, when you lose that track where you have common goal, and as well knowing direction where the company's going. So a lot of folks, what I'm hearing too, is that when COVID first hit, where everybody's working from home, productivity went skyrocket. But after about 6 months to a year, they're seeing a decline in productivity. And that's partially because the lack of human interaction, and also understand the direction of the company, because COVID had all of us in a tizzy.
They went out and they polled the actual employees. Only 37% of the employees, basically a third, said they were more productive at home than they were at the office. So, and I know we have new Omicron new variant out there, and I know that folks have healthcare concerns. I'm not trying to poo-poo that by any means, but we do find that even in the real estate world, the folks who come in the office tend to do more business than the folks that don't. And are you feeling virtual fatigue? For so many agents, because they work from home, do you have a place where you're going, even in your home, where you're going to go and work and get work done? This is where I go, are you suffering from that same virtual fatigue in your real estate career? Because we see some folks right now, some of our agents are just knocking it dead, and some folks have been knocked dead, basically, kind of thing. Their business is not doing well.
They're basically hibernating right
mama
now.
Bears. That's what we got.
And that's because they get most of the folks in real estate are the one that likes changes, like to do different things and stuff like that. And when you are stuck in one location with the scenery is always the same, so you get a little complacent.
Like I've got Ming to keep pushing me and vice versa, kind of thing. So that kind of stuff, it goes a long way out there.
But we do come to the work every day. Yep. So we haven't stopped since COVID.
So we are seeing more moderating prices. That's one thing that I don't want. And I know I talked about it earlier, but I did want to touch on it again a little bit more. Are we going to see prices start to flatten? Yes. What happens when prices start to flatten, Ming? They're going to go nuts.
Yes.
They're going to lose their ever-loving minds.
Well, the seller think you're not doing a good job. So what you need to do is combat them with real stats, okay? And educate your seller, because at the end of the day, the less, if they're not informed, there's a lot of whisper out there on the internet, and you can Google everything you want online. But the fact is that, it may be true in certain market, but it may not hold true in your market.
Yep.
So pull your data and show them exactly what the data is saying versus, listen to the whispers.
Yep. Now, we want to kind of go, we're in the holiday season here. And so why should sellers list this holiday season? Because it really is a really good time to list right now. So first of all, when you list during the holidays, we find that those folks are just more serious. They're more real. We find that the buyers that are out buying during the holiday season, I don't know, a lot of folks like, yay, let's shop the week of, during the holidays kind of thing. So they tend to be more serious.
Honestly, holiday time is time for family. So if someone put their house on the market, they are serious about selling it.
And the buyers are serious about buying it.
Absolutely.
So the next one is that the sellers have less competition. We have less houses on the market during this time of year. We do need to encourage our sellers to, if they are going to be waiting, do prep, get it ready to go.
And let me tell you, just that little bit of prepping makes a whole world difference.
Yep. Also, houses show awesome during the holidays. Now, I don't know, this is a challenge because I'm not a big fan of having Christmas photos for listing photos, because as of December 26th, your house is out of date.
Right.
But that being said, when you walk in a house and it's got all the blinky lights outside and it's festive and that kind of stuff, it goes a really long way, kind of thing, because we see that buyers are also more emotional during that time. You can form a real emotional connection with it. And we've even seen buyers like, oh, the house was so beautiful, all decorated, kind of thing. Like, guess what? As soon as you move in, it's not going to be decorated. But
they can see the potential.
Yeah. Also, some of our buyers right now are trying to take advantage of year end. So they're trying to get in before the end of the year.
For tax purpose, homestead exemption.
Yeah. And then a lot of businesses are, this is a time when a lot of businesses move people in order to have them in place starting the new fiscal year. So, this whole idea of you got to wait till January, not really true. That is not really a big deal. Zillow. So if your client, if your friends, that kind of stuff, if they had an offer out there from Zillow that Zillow was going to buy their home, we all know that Zillow is not buying homes anymore, but they had like, I don't know, thousands, like 8,000 contracts out there. Well, they have reneged, backed out of
about 400.
About 400. Right, so now, not a huge number based on it, but about, I think 5% of the contracts they had out there, they have backed out on. So just, be out there, let your clients know that kind of stuff. If they need help, you can submit things to OfferPad or Open Door. Gosh, it'd be much better if you prepare them a CMA and showed them what a buyer is willing to pay for their home in this market here instead.
Versus taking a quick cash. And I understand some of the homes need some repairs for maintenance and stuff that there's way around it. Honestly, talk to your broker, and I promise you they'll give you a good sounding advice.
Now we got lots of education this week. So, so on Tuesday, the wonderful Teresa McIntosh is going to be in our Fayetteville office in person doing the game of credit. It's out of this world class. Talks about how to build your credit, the whole 9 yards, how to help your clients. Understanding how credit works really is, I can't speak highly enough about it. On Wednesday, my lovely bride will be up at the airport office. Now, these are in-person classes. And what are you going to be teaching at the airport?
2022 GAR contract changes, y'all. So for those of realtor and non, you need to know what the GAR contract is changing.
And then on Thursday, we have What's Bugging You.
In our Noonan office.
And that's in person in our Noonan office.
I know during this wintertime, y'all don't think there's bugs, but there are bugs.
Creepy crawlies everywhere kind of thing.
Yep, they're not discriminatorial seasons.
And then on Thursday, we also have How to Leverage Business Credit and Get Access to Working Capital. That one is going to be an online virtual class. Now, I don't normally talk about next week, but I do want to talk about next week because next Tuesday, that is our sales meeting and Christmas party. So we're gonna be like whoop, whoop, doing the dancing and that kind of stuff and having some great food. So that's gonna be at our airport office, and we'd love for you to be joining us. Also, Ming is going to be teaching the
Code of
code,
ethics.
our last code of ethics on December 15th next week. That's a big deal because if you're a realtor, you have to have code of ethics in before December 31st.
Absolutely.
This is the last time we're teaching it for the year. So this is your last chance to get it done. That's going to be here in the McDonough office. And then she'll be teaching GAR. You're going to be busy. She's going to be
very
teaching GAR
busy.
contract changes in Conyers. We'll be teaching GAR contracts in every one of our, well, Ming will be teaching GAR contracts in every one of our
I
offices.
saw that passing the bucks real quick.
We all have our own specialties. So we hope you guys had a great weekend.
We are
Have
going to
great
have a
week.
vision board. So
Oh.
those of you that are wanting, it's okay, wanting to update your business plan, our airport office is doing a vision board. So please join us. Even if you're not a realtor of ours or agent of ours, come and have some fun.
Yeah. So thank you guys very much. If we can be of any kind of service, call, text, smoke signals, we answer it all. Hope you guys had a great weekend and have a wonderful week. Please go
Happy
sell
Monday,
some
y'all.
houses.
Take care.
Bye.